Welcome back, everyone, to the Kingscrowd Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Belley from Kingscrowd. I'm joined today by Senior Investment Associate Teddy Lyons. Now, we're going to be going over a deal review today for a deal that we've been taking a look at, which is for Totem. Teddy's going to be telling us all about that. But before we jump into the deal review, just one or two quick things we wanted to remind people about and let people know about. So first off, if you are in the Atlanta, Georgia area, we're actually going to be coming there in person, IRL, on June 10th. That's a Wednesday. We're going to be coming down and doing a startup showcase in Atlanta. This is a series of startup showcases that are essentially pitch events where you get to meet 5 founders who are raising capital using equity crowdfunding in person, in real life. It's an awesome networking opportunity. They're usually small, intimate gatherings with you and a couple of the founders and some other investors in the local area. So if that's of interest to you, if you're in the Atlanta area or want to plan some travel around that to come and meet us in person, again, June 10th, Wednesday at 5 p.m. We'll be dropping a link either into this chat later, or feel free to stay tuned and we'll be letting people know how to register for that. But let's get to today's deal review. So Teddy, I'm going to hand it over to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Totem?
Yes. Also, one quick plug for the those in-person events. We've done like 4 or 5 of them so far. And yeah, they're really just been a lot of fun and great to just, meet investors in person, meet founders in person. Just adds a much different dynamic to, what's usually a fully remote space, equity crowdfunding. It's really nice to see people in person. So highly recommend if you're in the area or nearby to come on over. But yes, so Totem is building a consumer hardware product for a problem that probably almost everyone has experienced, which is losing your friends, family, or kids in crowded places where phones, for whatever reason, are not working particularly well. So you can kind of think of music festivals, amusement parks, concerts, resorts, outdoor trips, really just any large event where people get split up. Cell phone service can get overloaded, or GPS can be, imprecise for locating folks. So the company's core product is the Totem Compass, which is a wearable friend-finding device that helps users locate trusted contacts without relying on cellular service, GPS, or any type of phone use. So yeah, if you go to the Raise page, you can kind of see. So that's, that device there. Basically, so users, they sell them in kind of packs of 2 to 4. And basically users pair their Totem devices, their Totem compasses, with their group. And the compass gives real-time direction and distance feedback through lights and vibration. I think if you scroll a little further down, there's sort of, a little bit more blown up. And the key technology behind this is Totem's proprietary and patented offline peer-to-peer mesh network, which they call the Unity Mesh Networks, which kind of allows for these tracking capabilities without needing cell phone service. So I have personally been to a few music festivals over the years with friends, and I sort of immediately resonated with the pain point in, it's always a nightmare, if you leave your group of friends to go grab a drink, and when you get back, they're not in the same spot you left them. And then you sort of hop on the wheel of calling them. When they answer, you can't really hear them. The texts make no sense. The text that they send you, they'll say like, I'm stage left, halfway back. It's like, what does that mean in a massive crowd? So this device really points you towards the people you're at the event with and who you need to find. I'd recommend going to the Raise page and seeing the demo video, which kind of shows how it works, which is when you pick it up, it will have the colors associated with the other people that you're paired with, and you just kind of follow it, and it will eventually bring you directly to the person you're trying to find. So, there it is. So the initial wedge, obviously, as we mentioned, or as I previously mentioned, is kind of, this live entertainment and music festivals. But as we see it, as we're evaluating Totem as an investment opportunity, we really think, and the founder, of course, agrees with this, that the use cases really expand beyond into theme parks, resorts, outdoor recreation. and particularly around, if you're at a amusement park and you have kids, just like if they all have this, it's just a really easy way to kind of keep track of everyone. And for this to really scale with venture-like returns, I should say, they're going to really need to scale beyond the music festival scene, which it's had some great traction with so far. And Totem basically began shipping these compasses in 2024, in mid 2024. They currently have 52,000 users, and the company ended 2025 at $1.7 million in revenue and projecting $5 million of revenue in 2026, and also projecting profitability, net income profitability in 2026. And kind of the big piece that was impressive to me about Totem when I first saw them is they really have this element of virality. They've gotten something like 600 million organic views over the last 2 years on across all social media platforms, and 10 million shares across all of those platforms. And that is all without any paid, promotion, advertising, ad spend. They really, the kind of community on these social media platforms, particularly in the music festival scene, really kind of resonated with this. Number one, it's just a cool looking device. And when you're not using it to locate people, when it's just around your neck, it's sort of the colors kind of vibe with the music. And it's just a cool kind of conversation starter, just a really cool device that really kind of went viral across all these different platforms. And because of that, they were able to achieve these revenue metrics of $1.7 million last year. And I think I forget what their lifetime revenue is, but either way, that has all come from just organic views, organic conversion from just going viral on social media. And they've only just really turned on ad spend and social media advertising within the last 5 months. And they're already seeing very solid metrics there. Their LTV to CAC ratio is about a 3.7, which is, we usually look for a LTV to CAC around 3. Anything above 3 is quite solid. So really interesting company here. It's one company we've really never seen anything like this in equity crowdfunding, I would say. And the deal is priced at a $15 million valuation cap, which at a 20% discount on that safe. And that works out to about 8.8x 2025 revenue and 3x projected 2026 revenue. So evaluating Totem, really the real investment question here, I would say, is can Totem turn this, obviously very viral, useful festival product into a broader consumer hardware platform for, offline group coordination and potentially a data and analytics platform for venues. I say this because they have about 6 million navigation logs kind of on their, collected so far from their user base. And sort of the bigger vision for them is, with all of these navigation logs, as they get more and more venues involved, they are currently in the process of building out a predictive analytics tool that will kind of effectively be able to tell owners of these venues and things like that, and amusement parks, wherever they use this, and kind of predict where the crowds will go before the crowds even get there, and kind of really forecast how those crowds will move through the venue before they arrive. And I think that potentially could be a very interesting and potentially a commercial data set that they could kind of build a data platform around. So I'll stop there. Brian, what are your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, the very first thing that comes to my mind is the product looks super cool, right? Like intuitively, I get a sense as a consumer of why I would need this. Maybe a little bit older than you, Teddy. I can remember some of the days like pre-cell phone of being at concerts, or even like before I had service in other countries. I remember I was skiing up in northern Vermont, and it was close enough to the Canadian border that my phone would go back and forth, and I lost service. I got separated from my group at one point. That was impossible. I literally went back to the hotel that night because I was like, I don't know where they are. And they woke me up when they got back. So I totally get the pain point, but it comes down to, the companies that or the product may look like really interesting. It may be a really good company. That doesn't always mean it's going to be a good investment. So like some of the things that are questions that just come to my mind are 50,000 users, sounds pretty good off the bat. It sounds like they've had lots of this organic exposure. Did they talk anything, Teddy, about their retention numbers or their churn at all? I'm curious, with a gadget like this that's really cool, you might go to a concert, you might sign up for a month. Are those users actually sticking around? Do we know anything about that?
So the stage that the company is currently in, all of their revenue is coming from hardware sales. So people go online, they buy it, there's no like platform they need to log into or kind of be connected to or be on in order to use this device. So there's no real like retention because there's no kind of subscription or kind of recurring revenue at the moment. They in kind of next phases of the product development roadmap is they're going to be releasing a sort of app where you can do some offline texting, things like that, and kind of be able to see where all the totems are kind of in your location that you are. So you can use that in addition to the device to find your friends.
Got it. So yeah, I guess that would be a question then of when they launch that, thinking about things like subscription retention.
Yeah, I think, an interesting kind of revenue model that they're currently exploring and are going to be launching this year is kind of partnering with venues to kind of offer the Totem Compass. It can be branded into whatever the venue wants, but and kind of allow concert goers, festival goers to rent these with their friends, just like while they're at the venue. And I think that could be an interesting way to get the product in users' hands in a low risk way of just you can rent this out. It's going to help you find be able to find your friends, maybe make it free at first. So I think that sort of rental model, even beyond festivals, on cruise ships, at amusement parks, I think it could be they have a stand at the entrance to be like you can just try this, and other families have found it very helpful for keeping track of your kids and just those in your party. So I think that is an interesting angle that they're going to be taking, as well as sort of moving just beyond the direct to consumer, which they've been doing. They've only been around for 2 years. All of their sales have been through direct to consumer pretty much. They are launching, I believe they're launching with a retailer in Europe. I don't think they've announced it yet, but where they're going to actually just be selling this, in brick and mortar stores. Obviously remains to be seen like how that will go. I think it's an interesting product to have showcased like in person for foot traffic. So yeah, a lot of different angles here. Again, this company is quite early, that it's tough to do a lot of analysis beyond the D2C traction, which has been really good so far. And kind of everything else is obviously extrapolating what they've been able to do and kind of just predicting how it's going to go.
Also, based on that, most early companies, again, it is kind of hard to evaluate them. So a lot of people will fall back to looking at the team. Do you have anything just based on your discussions with the founder, kind of the founding team, in terms of good advantages they might have or questions you might have as kind of follow up to them?
Yeah, so I spoke to the CEO, Carter. He, very, very solid on this kind of market that they're hitting, this beachhead market. He seems to be someone that has a lot of experience in music festivals, has gone to hundreds of them, has really seen this pain point in action, and has obviously done a kind of great job, for the last 2 years, kind of getting this into a viral product, getting a lot of these sales organically. And beyond that, it looks like they have, it's kind of on their tech team, they have one of the inventors of the technology behind, I don't know how relevant it really is, but behind Scrub Daddy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. They're the Shark Tank. So he did a lot of work on the kind of proprietary materials, chemistry, and things like that behind that. Seems to have done a great job with this technology and having it really work with, perfect uptime, basically. So yeah, overall, the team seems really solid. Obviously, still very small, but I think they've really done a solid job so far.
Cool. And thank you. Léa is joining us. Léa, the other senior investment associate at Kingscrowd. But anything you want to mention, Léa, just in terms of Totem, the deal opportunity, maybe kind of anything you want to add to the conversation?
Well, I have questions for Teddy. You talked about how the product went viral a lot. I'm wondering if that were to stop, how can they actually continue growing?
The majority of their sales have been organic so far. They really just started the ad spend about 5 or 6 months ago. And they're already seeing their return on ad spend very solid. I believe it's 4.5 to 6x on all of the campaigns that they've run through all the different, AdSense you can do on, or ad campaigns you can do on all the different social media platforms. So it is still a lingering question of, while their ad spend has returned quite, 4.5 to 6x, I do think they probably are still riding a bit of that virality. And, it really remains to be seen, I think, kind of how that's going to affect growth as time goes on from when they went viral. But, from what they've been able, all they really can do is, put some ad spend behind it, see how it goes. It's been going well. It's really a bet on the team and really being able to continue the momentum here.
I mean, if nothing else, I'd be interested in trying one of these out myself.
I know.
I go on lots of cruises, and that's another huge pain point, like you were saying, of especially cruises usually have to pay exorbitant fees to be able to access the Wi-Fi. There is no cell phone as an option. A lot of people use walkie-talkies, but then that's going to be limited by range or, so I think there's lots of use cases I'm sure lots of people could think about. But before we sign off, any last words by either of you? Léa, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, one more question for Teddy. At $69 per item, do you think that this can be a barrier to adoption, or is there any ways to go around that?
I think today it probably is a barrier in that they're really only out at music festivals right now. And I think that's, I think I'd be if I went to a lot of music festivals, I'd be more interested in this as like a one-time thing. Probably not. It's too expensive, which is why I think the rental model is really interesting for music festivals and other use cases. Mm-hmm. I think, if they do expand to more of like amusement parks and cruises, as Brian was saying, that I really think even on like a 5-day cruise, like especially if you have a family, like I think that'd probably be worth it to get 3 or 4 of them for your family. So I think it kind of depends on the use case. And I think, at its current stage, it probably is on the higher side for the more casual festival goer. But I think as they expand use cases and hopefully kind of bring the price down as they begin to manufacture more of them, hopefully that barrier will kind of lessen.
Great.
Yeah, that's a good growth avenue. So
no doubt
they can do that definitely.
Awesome. We'll keep today's episode pretty brief, but that was a deal review of Totem. To learn more, you can head over to kingscrowd.com, search for Totem, Totem, and check out their raise, currently live on WeFunder. As I was saying before, if you're in the Atlanta area, just pencil that in, June 10th, Wednesday. Would love to see you in person. I'll be there. So, all right, until next time, we'll sign off. Thank you, everyone. See you back here on the next Kingscrowd Podcast.